to my Google Hangouts. Oh, finally it's working. Let me see if I can switch over here. There's too many things open here. Okay, so I'm going to close some of these other windows because I don't know this one's giving me an issue. Close this window. I can see the audio working here, so I could tell that something's going on. Let me just enable the chat. Wait for people to show up. Man, this has been a really delay. 8:45 already. I need to start setting them for like 8 or something. And for some reason my camera is off. Let's see, is my mic? Camera's off. Here we go. Camera on. Camera on. This is going to be a freaking camera working. Well, what's going on with this? I don't know why the camera's not working, but I'll have to figure that out later, I guess. Read about the screen share. If you guys didn't hear me before, I said it before, you know, sometimes things don't always work the way you want them to. So you just have to kind of roll with it. That's exactly what happened to me tonight. Sent to everyone. Okay, so everybody's sharing now. Yes, I'll wait for some people to show up here. I know people kind of left the chat because, you know, I got on late. Nothing I could really do about it. Everything just blew up on me tonight. I was hoping to get my Commodore 64 system working and hooked up, but it's not working, of course. So I'll have to really plan this out. And like I said, but my biggest problem was because I had to reinstall my whole operating system, and everything has gotten, you know, has been uninstalled. So I have to kind of go looking for everything again and try to reinstall it. I went to the TV Center website, and their freaking program doesn't download, doesn't work. So I was stuck with, you know, I had to, you know, pretty much scrap that. And then I couldn't get the plugins working for Google, and it was blocking everything. So I've learned some things tonight. I guess that's a start. Yeah, I guess what I could just show you is what's going on here with the demo lately. I haven't really done a whole lot with it, like I said, because I've had all these computer problems and everything. So hopefully you guys can see this. I keep checking over here to make sure it's screen sharing. Can't tell if it is. Let me go to the YouTube channel real quick just to make sure everything's broadcasting now. And notify everybody up here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it over to the Hangouts here for a second. I'm going to put in the other link just to make sure. I hope that's not my alarm. Distraction. Somebody's alarm was going off. Okay, so let's go back here and post this in here. I apologize. Hangout. So bear with me for this delay here, guys, a second while I organize this. Make sure everybody's able to see everything. Okay, got somebody responding here. Let's see if anybody showed up in the chat. Shut down some of these folders. Okay, the first part's always boring while I wait for people to arrive. Make sure I'm not just talking to myself. Let's refresh over here. Keep track of the comments. I think one thing that Google could really benefit from is integrating the chat directly into the Google Hangouts. So when people chat, it shows up in here somewhere. If you guys agree, go ahead and put a comment on that. Because, you know, if somebody's trying to ask me a question, I don't get an alert, I don't get like a buzz. I mean, even my cell phone will buzz when somebody's trying to contact me. So I have to keep going backward and forward, checking the comments and see if somebody has responded. So it's really strange. Unless they show up in the actual Google Hangout, then, well, you never see them. You never know what's going on. So I don't only have one monitor, so I have to kind of swap back and forth. My monitor is like 26 inches. You know, I'm hoping later to get a better, maybe like a dual monitor or something. That'd be so much better, I think. Maybe just keep an eye on this and make sure nobody shows up. Ask any questions. A couple people dropped out, and really apologize to you guys. I know you were looking forward to something, and I will have something going here. Just not what I anticipated, unfortunately. But I guess we'll just get started while we wait for people to arrive. I can still see this window over here. Hopefully you guys can see this window. I'm getting a mirror of a bunch of windows over here, so, and it also looks backward. That's kind of interesting. So hopefully that doesn't look crappy to you. So I'm just going to run this and show you what I've been up to lately on this. It's going to look really funny, and I got some errors already. Okay. I figure out what happened to this thing now. Guess I'll have to reload this again. It just didn't load right or something. That's interesting. It was looking fine the other day. Let's see if there's an error anywhere. Just a bunch of warnings. I don't see any errors. I relocated a folder. I think it has something to do with that. So I'm just going to try to open up a project here. The one I relocated it to. It's because I renamed it. I had to move it from my other drive that I copied everything to, and I renamed the folder, and now it doesn't like that. So I need to go, I guess, rename it back, because I renamed it ebook 2 to rename it to something else, like ebook 0 or something. We'll get started here soon enough. And put this back in ebook. Hopefully that will fix it. I'm just going to shut this down and start this again. Just to get a safe reboot. I should have Vice hooked up to this too. This is an ebook, so I need to open up a new project here. And of course, it's not going to be here, so I have to relocate it. It should be right here. There. See if that gets it. Nope. Ah, goodness sake. Rebuild, everything's building. It was working fine the other day. Now it doesn't even want to load. It's not, for some reason, it's not loading Vice. I have all the setup down here for it to load, but it's like it's not recognizing where I put the folder or something. C64 ebook. I don't know if you can hook up Vice over here or not. Darn it. Nobody's still here, so this is going to be kind of a boring once I can get this thing running. Yeah, come on. I don't have any errors. These are going to say unused. These are just warnings, though. It should be loading Vice. It's not. I hooked it up before when I first installed this. It's the setup wizard. Make sure Vice is still there. Probably not. They got moved. You have to hook Vice up like that, otherwise it'll never see it. And it still doesn't see it for some reason. This is the worst. Okay, so I've got Vice hooked up. I've got it set to the cart. There's no reason why it shouldn't be loading. Preferences. Go back to that hookup again. File edit, search, control, assemble. Make sure it loads over here. Okay, so it loads here. The question is, why isn't it loading here? Nice path. Right there. Nice. Beautiful. All you usually have to do is that. Of course it ain't gonna work. Alright, let's scrap this whole thing. Hey, John. No, he always joins me, he leaves. Well, let's get some C64 music going, just something to keep it entertaining right now, because this is probably the most boring Google Hangout you've ever experienced, I'm sure. C64 music. There's any top C64 music of all time. That's a very good project. So what I'm doing here, I'm just showing you some examples of zero page. Zero page is used to reference things that are, it's the easiest way to reference things faster using assembly language. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit now. I've decided on a path here. Let's see if anybody's joined here or not. So yeah, so I'm just going to be using C64 Vice or Vice C64 tonight. We'll have to scrap. For some reason, Studio is not loading the projects. As you've already seen, I tried to load them and they are not working. These are all warnings. This shouldn't be the reason why it's not working. Yeah, 0 errors. Could not open emulator. So wait, it's trying to load this from here. I wonder if I moved it to that folder. Let's just try that as a trick. I just now caught that. So I'm wondering if that's why it's not finding it. It's trying to run everything off on my E drive because I think that's where the C64 Studio is running. So I'm just going to real quickly try to relocate this Vice C64, see if this works. Maybe we'll get lucky. I hopefully I only have to copy the one, not a bunch of files. Might as well copy all these to be saved. I think that's it. Okay, so this was saying it's trying to find it. This is where I backed up everything to when I had erased my computer. So I'm going to try to force it into that backup folder and see if we can kind of trick it into making it work. So backup C drive. Do I even have an E? I know what it is now. I added a new drive just recently. And earlier I was running everything off of another drive. So Vice, for some reason, is still looking at the other emulator. I don't know why it's not initialized to the other one, but I'm going to. Anyways, just do a little trick here, I guess. We'll see if this works. So backup. So C drive 2015. Let's see. Oh, because it doesn't exist. So I'll probably have to create it here just to kind of trick it. Let's see if this works. I don't think on the fly very well, guys, so I'm just going to try this. Because I don't really want to waste anybody's time. I know I hate having my time wasted. And that's where it's looking for the X64 right there. I don't know if I have to reassemble it now or what. I thought I did. Compile to file simulation and file running C64 space ASM. Let's close this and try the other one again. So I created a different file and it was probably looking for that other one. Right here. So we just need new output. Zero errors in how to compile the file C64 Sydney Studio part. Yeah, I don't want to waste your time. I don't know what's going on with it. Let's also try moving. Let's try going back and trying to set up Wizard again. The file I just created. See if that works. Disaster. Any error messages? Okay, I'm totally done with that. So we're gonna just be working off of ice. No choice tonight. That's some pretty cool music though. So what we did is we stored everything in the 0 page here. So you saw me print it out. I'll do it right here again to show it to you. So if you print this 10 times, it's going to print everything that's stored in these memory addresses from 251 on. Actually, I should have only done 4. I don't know why I did 10. It only stores from 251 to 255, I believe it is. So I'll just do that. 5, 4. And then I can print out to the screen here with a little comma. So okay, let me see why I did that. So print peak poke 251 comma x should be poking everything from here from 0 to 4 into here. So we have a 0, 1, 2, 3 in there. For some reason it doesn't. Yeah, it does. So it's got 0, 0, 0. We'll just read some data. Heck with it. 3 by per byte. BT per byte. And we'll just create some data. Oops. What did I do? This equals 0 to 4 read BT. Oh. It read past what was stored there. Let's need to add one more, I guess. It's another one, 264. If we add 16, 64, 75. Okay, so x equals 0 to 4, read byte, poke 251 comma BT. Should be poking memory locations in the BT, 0 to 4, 251 next. It's not reading my data. It's like it's reading it backward or something. BT 251 comma BT. Let me see if anyone else has joined. I could really use your guys' help, but I really like it when people join and then they can kind of contribute. We can kind of move forward. You know, 2 heads are better than 1, of course. But it's all my fault. I started this late tonight, so a lot of inconvenience is nothing I could really have any control over. But I guess I'm on my own until somebody joins. I think what I'm going to do is type in a program or something. And we'll just learn from that, I guess. Let's see if I can get my camera to work. Shut it off and restart it. Oops, I didn't want that. If you guys can hear me, you can see I'm working on something. The camera's not working. interesting music. So what was common back in the days, in my days, is typing in what are called listings into like the map in the Commodore 64 or any books that you have here. I could probably go look them up online, but I just didn't prepare this very well. I didn't expect all this to happen tonight. So I know there's one in here, Commodore 64 machine language routines. I could probably get one of these maybe. Just right joystick. There's actually a game in here now. The Scroll 64, since we're on the topic of scrolling, let me see how fast I can type this sucker in. First, let me make sure I got this set up correctly. I'll just create a new image here somewhere. I'll just create it here somewhere. What to call this? Or demos, I guess. Or ASM demos. I should create the D64 file right there. So now we have our file. We attach it. Now anything we save will get saved to that folder. So you're going to bear with me a little bit as I go through this program. It's not super long. And keep in mind, back in the days, this is how it was done. So I'm going to bore you a little bit here while I type this in. But this is a scroller program, actually. That's all this crazy characters. We get to the numbers and I'll be good. This is a checksum service, I believe. Yep. At least it has, a lot of them back in the days had a checksum service, which basically allows it to check the data statements for any errors that you type in. So this is going to detect if there's an error in it, so I think that's kind of cool. Of course, I think that to work. Let's see, error in number. I like that. Go 250. Let's test you guys. See if we can guess what kind of game that is, or game that is that's playing right now for the music. How much of a C64 fan are you? I can almost name these off by heart. I think it's Skate or Die. It's some kind of skating game, I know that. Let's see if I'm even close. Oh, it's Ninja, actually. It sounds almost like Skate or Die. Let me see what's going on with the chats. We just said no. Well, it's on, guys. So, whether you join or not, let me know. Well, guys, I think that's the end of the checksum service. Now we're on to the data statements. This is the memory start, beginning in the range of memory. Now this is what they were all made up, was a bunch of numbers. You've seen me do this many times. This is why, for those who want to know, I got so familiar with the numbers, because I was always typing these suckers in. I came from the days when there was just cassettes. There were no disk drives or anything like that. So you were forced and hoped that your program would work successfully after you spent hours of typing it in, and hope after you saved it to cassette it would load again. So I spent many times. I'll give you a little story. One time back in the 80s, when I had my Atari computer, actually, me and my friend spent time typing in a program, and it took me, I don't know, I'd say it probably took me 2.5 to 3 hours to type the sucker in, because I was not very good at typing things in those days. And when I got done, I saved it to the cassette. That was my mistake. After I saved it, I realized it was never going to load again. So what we did next is we took turns again typing it in again. This time I said, we're not going to save it to the cassette. We're just going to go ahead and run it. And guess what? We run the program, and it wipes out half the code. Later, only did I find out it was supposed to do that. It was something about resorting the program to work more memory efficiently. And it was supposed to be like a sprite animation kind of thing. Or actually, that was player missile graphics. But it only took me many years later to figure that one out. So, lessons to be learned. So nowadays, we're pretty privileged to have these emulators and stuff like Vice C64, and of course C64 Studio, Turbo Assembler, all those that exist out there for the C64 alone. It saves us so much more time having to go through stuff like this. Now I could probably look these up, but I'm just going to type them in anyways, because I'm just going to kind of go back to some nostalgic era, retro if you would, to kind of relive those moments. I had to spend many hours just sitting there typing in stuff like this code, and anxiously waiting to get to that last data statement just to see if it was going to run and see if there was no error. So these checksums were really nice, because they saved a lot of trouble typing in all those numbers. And in those days when I typed in those numbers like I'm doing right now, I didn't even understand them. They were just numbers. I mean, now I can look at them and I can see code and stuff like that, because I've been so used to typing them in. But so far, yeah, I'm starting to see some assembly language already. I won't bore you with it, but my eyes can catch it. Okay, so let's see, 50-50. Hopefully I'll skip a line here. I learned many lessons in those days. Sometimes I would type in programs like this, and I was really bad at not saving them. And then when I typed them in, I'd run them, especially like assembly language listings. Now, the death to assembly language user, or somebody who's typed them in, which would be called the user. When you type in a assembly language program, what I learned most importantly is after you're done typing it in, make sure you save that sucker, because you never know if it's going to lock up. If it locks up, buddy, you lost all that typing. If you were spending 2.5 hours typing it, if you were that slow of a typist like I was then you were stuck retyping, re-entering this data just like I'm doing right now all over again, just in hopes that, you could see what the freaking program was going to do. And more interestingly, I was drawn to games in those days, so I'd sit there and find long listings of assembly language games and type those suckers in and just cross my fingers and hope they would run. But these days, I'm pretty, I'd say I've learned enough, maybe not a whole lot that some people have attributed to, but I've learned enough where I can catch these kind of things before I run into them. And you'll learn it as you go along. I take a lot of some of the fewer people on my channel, but I'd say the vast majority of you guys are really wanting to learn about assembly language, but really probably haven't dabbed into your own stuff. I'd really like to find a way to get you guys started. Somebody mentioned maybe even, having a training session or something. I'm not the person to really train people. I've got a lot to learn in my path too. I could do basic stuff, but there's stuff I'm still learning that I need to explain more accurately so it makes more logical sense. And that's why I've been studying this this boot camp series from the Atari magazines that I mentioned in the other video where I was showing my apartment, so I could really start learning more about it at the lower level, basically. So I'm actually just double checking myself. I'm trying to talk and type, and that's a tough thing. I actually work in the call center, and talking and typing is a challenge. especially when you're just looking at a bunch of numbers. If I typed this program in already, I would already be used to it, and I have not done this in a long, long time. So just kind of getting used to it again. But it's always important, to learn to try to talk and type if you can. It's a skill that's acquired through life. I'll tell you somebody who's got it really perfected is people who work in like those administrative offices, or maybe like clerk typists, works for the clerk courts or whatever. They can sit there and actually talk and type, and I think that's pretty essential to the skills that they do. Probably lawyers are good at it too. I mean, they have to learn how to type pretty good. But it's really a tough skill, and probably the number one people that are good at that are people working in call centers, because it's what you do on a daily basis. I actually work for a PayPal, a great company to work for, and I had to learn to talk, type, and also diffuse arguments, so that's interesting too. I wouldn't say arguments, but just people are angry, you just have to really bring them down to level and just try to rationalize with them and emphasize with them and try to understand what they're saying to get to the central primary reason why they called. Anyway, so I'm trying to think of anything else I could tell you without you just sit there watching me typing in a bunch of crap numbers and wondering what the heck is this guy doing. So a lot of my experience draws, like I said, back to the days when I was really interested in computers. I first learned, my first passion with computers started actually in 8th grade, I recall. And in those days, I'm just double checking my spot here again. In those days, I actually had the experience of seeing the first personal computer I would ever witness was actually an Apple IIc. I didn't even know what a computer was. I've heard a few people mention about the computer, and funny, I wouldn't even finally get to go see that computer. Whatever drew me to it, until the end of that year, what was really interesting is what drew me, or what kind of opened my eyes to it, was I was in a history class then, American history or whatever it was, I don't remember what it was called. And we all were required to do an assignment in that class. And I probably told this story before, so kind of bear with me. But we were all required to do this assignment, and a lot of people didn't like, doing those kind of assignments. And if you've done history, it can be kind of boring in those days when you weren't thinking, you were rather wanting to get out and do other things. But anyways, we were all still supposed to do this one assignment. The teacher had even repeated it the day before or whatever, and mentioned, how essential this project was or this assignment was to us to completion. And for whatever reason, that night I went home, even though I hate doing homework, I did it. And I actually, probably because it was a writing assignment and I like to write. And the next day I came in and I turned in my assignment. You want to talk about the most embarrassing moment? This is probably maybe close to one of the most embarrassing moments. The teacher actually picks my paper out of the bunch, and she announces my name. She says, "Okay, I want you to know something very important here. When I tell you to do an assignment, I mean do an assignment. There was only one of you in this entire classroom that has completed this assignment, and that's Steve Morrow." So she put me on the spot, and everybody's like, they were all kind of mad at me and everything. And I was like, okay, this is pretty bad. I'm already the kind of guy that was picked on in school, just a geeky kind of person, and practically beat up at times. But yeah, I got put on the spot, teacher's pet, if you would, in those days. And she said, okay, and Steve, as a reward, she announced it in front of everybody. I guess it's kind of a discipline to the class. She said, as the reward to you completing the homework assignment, you get to go to the library for the rest of the day. Now, I'll tell you, even though everybody was ready to throw their books at me and everything, at that moment, I couldn't have felt more proud, and I had no idea what was in store for me. I was just like, you could throw a book at me, but you guys are stuck in this classroom. So long, suckers, And I just kind of left the classroom, and I ventured down the hallway to the library. This was in Akron, Ohio, in middle school. It was in 8th grade. And there it was. I remember walking in. It was really quiet because there was probably nobody in the library. Everybody was in the classrooms, obviously. And I ventured in, and there it was, the Apple IIc computer. And I was like, I saw that glowing monochrome screen. It was all green in those days. That's the kind of monitors that the schools probably could afford on a budget. And I saw it there, and I sat down at that thing, and I was like, this is interesting. And then one of the library assistants came over and helped me load some programs. And she put some discs down and said, is there anything you're interested in? And I said, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing what's on these discs. Do you have any games? Because I was always passionate about games. I loved the Atari 2600 for years. So she goes, yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll show that to you. And she loaded up this haunted house one. I don't know what it was, but when she loaded that thing and they started running, I saw the colors come to life on the screen and it came together as an amazing picture. I was like, wow, check this out, you know? And that's when my eyes really opened up to what computers were going to be and what I could do with them. And that's where my passion comes from, game design and stuff like that. Is it's all in you, you know, but your experiences draw on that. And I'd say from that moment forward, I knew I wanted a computer. I didn't know it wasn't going to be the Apple. I thought for sure I was going to get an Apple. Only, I think it was about a year later when I get my first computer, and it turned out to be the Atari 65XE. Ironically, I was on my way to buy a Commodore 64, but they had sold out of that computer. And this was actually at the Toys R Us, no, not the Toys R Us, the Children's Palace. Let's see how far back you guys can remember. Children's Palace was a popular store in those days. And sure enough, they sold out. Let me just see something here real quick. I was just counting these fours here. And they sold out of that computer. And I was stuck buying the Atari. Oh, I wouldn't say stuck. I mean, this Atari turned out to be, an eye-opener for me. So let me just count these sixes. I'm sure I'm going to have some mistakes in this, but I'll just go back and proofread. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think it is. 1, 2. It's hard to type and try to think of these numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm almost done here, guys. I think that's it right there, actually. There's just one more line. But anyways, from what I was saying, I bought my first computer at the Children's Palace, and everything after that was all about learning about BASIC and eventually assembly language, which is where we are right now. So I'm going to save this as I've learned from my lessons. Always save your program first. This is called Scroll64, and just save it like that. And I'll just give you a little bit more background here, where I'm getting this from. So the magazine I'm using is called, or the book I'm using, is a Computes book. Very popular, how to do that freaking quote, I think it's right there. Computes machine language. I'll just put this on another line. Routines for the Commodore 64. Just another line. I was going to put down the name of the author, but oh well. There's no author name there. So we're just going to save this again. You just use the @ and the 0 to resave. Shoot, what did I call it? Oh, Scroll64. So right there. I'll bet there's going to be errors in it because I know I was talking to you guys. But I already got a syntax error. And it's the equals. Error and block. So this is kind of cool. What it does, this program does, did you see what it does? It actually tells you where the errors are triggering at. Now, what do these blocks mean? I think they have them marked here. I'm just going to double check something here real quick. At the end of these lines, they have numbers. I'm just trying to see if that's what the blocks are meaning. Block number 1 is correct. Number 2. I hope you guys enjoyed that little story or the testimonial from me. Let me see if anybody's joined here yet. Then double check the switch back over here. I think everybody's probably given up on me tonight, but I am on my way to doing something here. So it says 1, 2, 3, and 4 is giving me errors, so that might be the first lines or so. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, what happened there? Okay. Oh. Okay, so let's look at the lines here. 5010, maybe that's block 1, I don't know. Better double check it real quick here. Doing what's called proofreading right now. $188, $114, $193, $140, $121, $193, $174. That looks good. Let's see if there's anything in the book that talks about the blacks. What this is all for. Yeah, well, I guess I'll have to proofread it. Too bad there was no pause on these. Is there a pause? Let's see. The music ran out, so let me get some more music here. So I'm going to do some proofreading here, because I'm not good at talking and typing. Okay, so that one looks good. That looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Ah, see there in that one. But that's going to get rid of one right there. Let's see. And with a shot. Looks good. This is what you had to do in those days. Maybe they're not. You're talking about people who are dedicated to writing software programs. This is what they have to do. $172, 16 looks good. And I apologize, guys, if this has been the most boring video you've ever seen for the Commodore 64. I'm going to have to really make it up for you guys and, really put together a really good video for the game play in progress once I figure out why Vice isn't loading. So now this is kind of a fill in the blank kind of thing. That looks good. In the meantime, let me see if anybody's responded again. I haven't seen a single error so far. Interesting. I see another error. Let's check this one. So 5150, 5160. Sucker. I'll double check these lines, make sure the checksums aren't off. It's good there. I was going to send those numbers at the end. They've usually made a number here in these lines. There's 5. I went through the whole thing and I didn't see anything wrong with it. I have no idea what these freaking blocks are. Well, I'm going to be deleting this stupid video. This is probably the worst one I've ever created. So we're going to call this one a night. This has been a disaster, and this is Steve Morrow signing off. Have a good night.